Hello and thank you to the last of our Geekouts leading up to Digital Learning Day. I'm Michelle with the Office of E-Learning, which is part of the Indiana Department of Education. With me today are educational leaders from around Indiana districts, or from Indiana districts that have participated in the Future Ready Summit last November in Washington, D.C. I'll have them introduce themselves momentarily, but first I'm going to tell just a little bit about what a Geekout is for those of you who might be joining for the first time. We started Friday Geekouts as part of our Indiana Digital Learning Month. And as you can see, a Geekout is simply a Google Hangout on air. What we have, though, are a group of enthusiastic educators who have come together to talk about a topic surrounding digital learning or contributing to digital learning. So today's topic is Future Ready. Future Ready is a free, bold initiative that maximizes digital learning opportunities and helps school districts move quickly to preparing students for career and college readiness. And we like to think much more than that, for just in all aspects of citizenship. You can learn more about this initiative at the futurereadyschools.org website. And so welcome to everyone on the panel today. Let's go ahead and start out with some introductions.
Hi, my name is Brad Hagen. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Warsaw Community Schools. I'm entering my 17th year in education and honored to be living in a great community. Warsaw is located in north central Indiana. We're taking full advantage of the technology that's available to us today. Dr. Hofford, our superintendent, is actually in another location, so I'm going to leave the rest of our district introduction up to him, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Casey Brewster, Superintendent at Paoli Community Schools. I have been superintendent now going on 2 years. Prior to that, I was the high school principal at Paoli Junior Senior High School. Paoli is located in Orange County. We are a rural community, approximately 2 hours south of Indianapolis, or about an hour northwest of Louisville, Kentucky.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dave Hoffert, Superintendent with Warsaw Community Schools. And again, as Brad alluded to, Warsaw Community Schools is located in the north central part of Indiana. We are known as the orthopedic manufacturing capital of the world. We're also the duck farming capital of the world. And we have the largest soy diesel plant inside of the United States. So we have really a cross-section of just about anything that you can imagine. We have 7,200 kids inside our school system. A lot of people refer to us as a suburban school community without a city to be attached to. Fort Wayne and South Bend are both about an hour apart away from us. And again, with the orthopedic capital of the world, again, a large part of our curriculum is based on STEM education. So we are really large and in depth with science, technology, engineering, and math.
Hi, my name is Seth Hamilton. I am the Technology Integration Specialist for Washington Township Schools, and I actually have a team of people here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Start. Good morning, everyone. I'm John Milliman. I'm the Superintendent in Washington Township. Work with the Teaching and Learning Division, which includes special services, technology, as well as our curriculum department. It's headed up by Curriculum Director Allison Smith. I'll let her introduce herself.
Good morning, Allison Smith, Director of Curriculum for K-12.
Hi, I'm Kenton Smith. I'm our Technology Supervisor for the district.
And I'm Mike Nebo, and I'm Director of Technology.
I'm going to assume that they're done introducing their group they have with them. I'm Stacy Schmidt. I'm the Superintendent of Porter Township School Corporation. We're located in northwest Indiana, just south of Valparaiso. And with me here, I have...
I'm Clay Corman. I'm the high school principal at Greenville High School.
David, you might want to go ahead and mute your mic. So sorry about that, Stacy.
That's okay. Need us to introduce ourselves again, or did you hear us?
I think we kind of got, and maybe we can, when we get back into questions, that you can share a little bit more, just in case, for anyone that might not have caught some things. We're all being flexible. As you can see, we're checking in from different places all around the state. So, I think our viewers, and we do have a nice group of viewers with us today, will understand that there's a little bit of confusion as we go along. We're all learning together. This is the great part about doing Geekouts. So I wanted to let our viewers know that there are questions that I prepared for our panel that we're going to go over, but we also, and more importantly, we want to hear your questions. So if you have something that you'd like to hear from the panel, go ahead and use the blue Q&A button in your viewer, or you can tweet to us at #INELearn. And so let's go ahead and toss out that first question. What does future ready mean to you, and how is it reflected in your district? And let's go ahead and go back to Stacy and Clay and start with them, and then we'll see how people want to chime in from there.
Awesome, thank you. Once again, Stacy Schmidt from Porter Township School Corporation, and for us, Future Ready has been something we've been working on for years, and we certainly have not yet arrived. It's looking at our connectivity within our schools for our students to the internet. It's about having infrastructure that is prepared to support digital learning and digital content creation. And then it's looking at how we can help our teachers to develop them professionally as well. For some of our teachers, it's quite a transition to a blended online instructional model, and so we've been working to support them as they make that transition, and to support our students as they're ready to really use technology in a different way in their learning. So we've been working hard to be able to create that kind of environment, and we have not arrived, but we continue to strive to get there. Mr. Corman, anything you wanted to add?
I think the biggest thing is probably flexibility, and knowing that this process is continually under evolution, and we just want to provide as many opportunities for our students and our staff to embrace technology and all the flexibility and opportunities it provides for us, and keep that open mind as we move forward.
I love that key word. It's an evolution. It's a process. There's not necessarily an end, per se. Anyone else want to jump in?
Michelle, I think for Warsaw Community Schools, it's a lot about student learn and just those instruction shifts that are taking place inside of our schools. When we work together with our local industry, they want students that are transferable in the skills, skills that haven't traditionally existed in schools and haven't traditionally existed in the workplace, because we're preparing them for occupations that do not yet exist. A lot of the words we've been using inside of our school is we want students to be risk takers in everything that they do, and we believe that we have to be risk takers as well. Calculated risk by setting them up non-traditionally for those future employments, future classes, and skills that really transcend into that next generation of digital learners.
Love that. Some really key points were made there. Paoli, anything that you would like to add to how you guys have addressed or how you envision Future Ready and what it means to your district?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I'll start off by saying, first of all, that one of the things that I really appreciate about the hashtag Future Ready is the fact that it doesn't necessarily have terms involved in that include computer technology. The fact of the matter is that what we focus on is providing the most engaging, most appropriate, most relevant resources, content, instructional strategies that we can provide our students. That is a challenge in that with technology, tools and digital tools that are available in preparing our students for the 21st century, for the many opportunities that we know lie ahead of them, we certainly embrace technology and integrate technology in an effort to make them future ready, while at the same time making our facilities and our classrooms future ready for future students. And so we've been very fortunate in Paoli to have some tremendous buy-in from our school board and the community, as well as our staff and students. And I'll point this out, a little plug for Paoli and all those involved, that when you have an opportunity after this event is over today, if you would navigate to Paoli School Corporation's website, and our Future Ready artifacts and resources are available on there.
Well, that will definitely show how it's reflected in your district. Awesome, thank you. And so Washington Township, the group there, how would you like to respond to what Future Ready means to you as a district, and then how is that being reflected in your work?
I think Stacy and Clay stated it very well. We're very close to those lines in our discussion about we feel like we've been working towards that for many years, along with how we design things, how we make our decisions, and design to be flexible and lightweight and adapt to ever-changing area, you know, in e-instruction, e-learning. Anybody add?
And I think just to kind of co-sign on what David said, that we're looking at 21st century skills and instructional practices. What are our students need to be future ready in terms of reading complex text and the shift to nonfiction? And so how do we use technology then to enhance the instruction of the 21st century skills?
I want to cut anyone off from Washington Township. Do you want to get a chance to weigh in? That was a great segue to our next question, actually, because the types of technologies and all the different things that are available now and could be utilized for our students in terms of their learning and accessibility didn't exist not very long ago. And so all of us, in order to be future ready, really need to get back to that role of learner. And David, I'm going to ask you if you would just go ahead and mute until you want to say something, because I know at the airport there's just constantly going to be announcements. Thanks. Sorry about that, everybody. So how have you returned to the role of learner in your position, and what are some ways that you are helping your staff, your faculty, do this as well?
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in. I think it's all about being a learner every day, and that if you're not leading as a learner, your staff is likely not to follow in that direction. And so for me, I've developed a professional network through Twitter, and so I learn a lot from my colleagues on Twitter, but it's reading and learning and growing in that way as well. I know I was challenged, I was participating in the INE Learn blogging for February, and for the first time in my life I really had to search and look for something that was new for the hands of our students, and so it was actually my tech team that brought something to me and showed me how it could be used with students, and it was actually kind of fun to be learning from them and seeing all the possibilities for what could happen. For us, we'll also experiment with lots of things too. In the effort to be device agnostic, you know, we'll experiment with different devices, different apps to try to find what's going to fit the age group and the user, and ultimately what we want to be able to do as teachers and learners, so that we get the right tools into the hands of our teachers and students. So that's some of what we're doing. Mr. Foreman might jump in as well as high school principal.
Well, I think there's, again, so much innovation out there, and things change so rapidly. One of the greatest things that has happened at Boone Grove High School is we've kind of had an influx of younger teachers, and listening to them and listening to their ideas and keeping the process somewhat grassroots and organic and almost inside out, like just supporting their opportunities to do new things, is probably one of the best experiences that I've come across as far as you know, moving forward in that aspect.
So, Washington Township, would you like to talk a little bit about how you guys are taking on the role of learners in this process?
Sure. I think it's safe to say that this is where we can really make up some ground. We like to target those teachers in the building and let them be the trainers. You know, we have so many teachers doing wonderful things in the building, and I think we only get to see a snapshot of it. So it's kind of grown organically in different buildings. It started, we really saw it when we rolled out iPads to all the teachers to use in the classroom. We saw teachers that, generally you wouldn't think of as trainers, sharing just, neat apps that they found, how they're using the device, how they're interacting with students. So our job is then to leverage those teachers to provide opportunities for them to share their knowledge, because I will be the first to say I'm not the keeper of the knowledge. There's others out there that are doing it better than I am.
We've got that on tape.
I say better or differently. I'm going to give him a little bit of an out. I'm going to say they're doing it differently because we all have different strengths, and so. But great answer. Anybody want to follow that up with their thoughts?
Well, I know from the technology side that things change every day. Throughout, all the time that technology's been integrated in schools, you can't stay on one solution because every day there's something new coming out that we need to shift to. In our district, we're a strong professional learning communities district, so there's a real culture for collaboration and working with each other and sharing each other's strengths. And we try to leverage that process. We try to work inside of that to give folks opportunities to share their strengths, to learn from each other, and that's just a really powerful environment to live and work in.
I'll piggyback real quickly on what Brad said because, again, with our teachers, most definitely the professional learning communities, one of the things that we've encouraged them through that process to do is really listen to that student voice and hear what the students are saying, what are their curricular offerings that they're looking for, what does a market demand for even classes look like at the high school level, and really coupling with our career center, with our leadership, and with our teachers to create those opportunities.
Great. Paoli, I'm going to give you a chance.
Well, this is Casey Brewster again at Paoli, and it just so happens that in the room with me, although you can't see them here, I have a couple of e-coaches, Heather Nichols, who is our secondary e-coach, and Aaron Hannon, our elementary e-coach. Both who Heather still teaches some classes. Aaron, who has been in the classroom for many years at the elementary level, found out very quickly that there aren't many books how to be an e-coach, but then our faculty at large has learned that they find themselves in the role of learner like never before. In fact, what sometimes has been a frustration for teachers has also been eye-opening. And then hopefully I can say on behalf of most of them, inspirational in that they can now empathize with the students that they see in class every day, whether it's through an online course, a blended course where they felt frustration as a learner, and they can then apply that to what they're doing with their own students. The fact that it's all tied into technology integration. It provides an opportunity also for our students to guide and facilitate many of our staff, and that's been a collaboration and an opportunity for students and teachers that we just simply haven't found opportunities to take advantage of in the past. And so it's been refreshing and sometimes frustrating, but overall it's been very positive for our staff.
Great, and I like what you mentioned, all stakeholders from leadership and your roles that are represented here today, all the way down to your students, are investing in becoming and acting as learners. And so that means that a teacher can learn from a student. We have two questions that have come up, one on our Twitter feed, and that one is related to how do you help students prepare for being future ready when their parents don't buy in, and I think we might come back to that in a bit. That will definitely be relevant to next week's conversation when we do have students with us. And then also on our Q&A from the Hangout, Paul Ketchum has said to David specifically with Warsaw that he would like to touch bases with him in terms of the PLCs. And I do want to mention that the online communities of practice here in Google Plus for all Indiana educators are still very much new. And if you are using PLCs in your communities within your district, certainly encourage folks to look at those online communities of practice, because the conversations could really be powerful when we go statewide. So continue doing those great things in your districts, but also think about how to expand the walls a little bit. I'm going to move away from, because we're kind of getting to the point where we're already about 10 minutes until we get to some more serious question and answer, and maybe we'll actually not get a whole lot. But last week our Geek Out was focused on digital content. And this is a big concern for a lot of schools, particularly for the teachers who are in the classroom doing the delivery of instruction. How do you do this in a future-ready school? So I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about how your district is working to provide access to quality digital content. Anybody want to kick us off on this one? The room gets quiet.
We'll jump in. First of all, we've appreciated the work the state has done in preparing some digital content as well. So that's been helpful, as teachers in Indiana have been working to develop content that is based on our standards. We've also worked with our own teachers to develop digital content. It's something that we're working on this summer, as well as we provide opportunity for teachers to develop some blended courses and to take the time to develop their own content. And actually, that was part of the thinking process for us as we were choosing the tools we wanted to use in our one-to-one environment. We were looking for tools that would be helpful for how we were going to create our digital content. Mr. Foreman. Yeah, so really our digital content is multifaceted as far as how we approach it. My Big Campus as an LMS has been really beneficial to us because there's so many resources that already exist inside it. It provides a degree of networking already, and that definitely facilitates that digital content curation and discovery. You know, I think probably the other huge challenge that, you know, we're still in the middle of, and I don't know we'll ever get through it, is trying to find, you know, what are the best resources for digital content, because there's so much out there that if you just start looking, it becomes somewhat overwhelming. And, you know, that's one thing I try to be a bit of a filter for our faculty, so that way they're not just bombarded with things that may not really serve their needs, but, you know, really try to focus on this makes sense for what we're doing and where we are right now, and provide those resources out. And then the other thing that I will say about it is it's been a natural process for us. The more that we have focused on our LMS and operating in that way, that just naturally is going to create more digital content. You know, our teachers are every day adding a little bit more just through their natural classroom progression, and as a result of that, we have a nice little library of resources that we can use.
Great. Anyone
I'll go ahead.
Follow? Good.
Sure, I'll go ahead and follow up. You know, what Clay mentions there at the end, the library of resources. I do think that through Google Plus is just one example, but Twitter and other sources of collaboration and sharing of information, our teachers and administrators have learned about or heard mention of, and been able to then follow up with accessing digital content, much of which, as all of you know, is free. In addition to that, we've utilized many resources from 5-Star Technology that happens to be located here in southern Indiana, and that's been for professional development. That's been an outstanding resource. There isn't one place to provide all of the resources that our teachers can put into their classroom instruction or for our students to access. There's many sources, and it seems that each day we find yet something new. This morning I shared on Google Plus the history timeline, an app that's available, a web-based app that is something that I hadn't yet seen before. And when we learn about those things, we have to share them. When we create them, we have to share them. Long gone now are the days where We protect in our individual classrooms or in our individual buildings those outstanding resources. We don't do that within our district. We're open to sharing anything that we find to be beneficial or useful for classroom instruction. And I know that all the others that are taking part in this event do the same thing. In fact, that's why they're taking part in this.
I couldn't agree more. We have teachers utilizing different avenues. We try to aggregate that into Safari Montage, where teachers have access to upload their own content, videos. We also utilize Promethean Planet. All of our elementaries have Promethean boards, so we utilize the Active Inspire software. The teachers can share their resources via Promethean Planet, also through Safari Montage. We have pockets in Twitter. We utilize Twitter chats to share information. We have maybe a few in Google+, but primarily we utilize the Promethean Planet and Safari Montage.
Okay, that was a throwdown challenge to me, wasn't it, Seth? We have a few in Google+. Okay, all right.
Hey, Michelle, I'll kind of tag on to what Seth was just mentioning there, and kind of what our panel is kind of, I guess I'll just echo their sentiments too. I think just the notion that you don't have to create on your own, the idea of curation, of kind of crowdsourcing almost, a lot of the LMSs, My Big Campus, Canvas, Blackboard, all have the capability of bringing in content that already exists. So you can take and almost, with that remix culture or adding your own flavor, your district essential standards or whatever you want to call it, being able to bring that in and then being able to tie it into, just in time, your lessons or, what your objectives are for the week. So I think that's kind of an important sentiment in terms of, I think a lot of people feel the weight of, I don't know where to start, or this is overwhelming. You can start where other people have and then add to it. I just think that that's an element that a lot of people, especially when they're first getting started with digital learning and digital assets, they don't really know where to start, and I think that's a good starting point, especially with a system that you already have in place.
Absolutely, and I just want to mention the filter, teaching where to find things, but then also how to filter them, and not expecting you to walk out there and just look at everything. So many great responses. We are almost to the 30-minute mark, so I am actually going to transition to another question that we got on Twitter, and this comes from Brooke Hall, who serves as a coach in the district. She asks, do you mainly conduct PD in the summer, throughout the year, or both? And how do you fit PD in during the regular school year?
Michelle, I'll start us off on this one. We do a combination of all the above, and I'm going to let Brad jump in here in a second because our summer is intensive. Again, from the moment that we let out of school all the way through with Math Science Partnership Grants, the E3 Learning Conference that we're in our third year going into, we send usually a group somewhere between 50 to 150 to professional learning communities over in Lincolnshire. We host the All Right Conference in our district, and then also the Twitter and some of the informal. During the school year, we're very cautious to pull teachers out of classrooms. We know that that's one of the hardest things for a teacher, so we really use the PLC model. We use a lot of collaboration that is taking place in different avenues, but then also Brad has really worked with our one-to-one integration on bringing coaches into the classroom, and so that way the modeling's happening while the learning is still taking place, and then how can we use teachers that are on prep hour or during different collaboration times to come in. So I'll turn it over to Brad here for just a second to chime in on that part.
Yeah, that's been a key part of our initiative. We actually have been working on both using the support employees that we have in each building to support that process, actually coming into the classrooms to work side by side with the teachers to help them learn and acquire new skills. But we also just worked with a company to come in from the outside and actually bring that training into the classroom so that we didn't have to pull teachers out. We find with the professional learning communities that teachers can leverage that process to talk with each other and gain from each other's strengths, but we also then put into place an online kind of social media site just for employees so that they could continue that off hours and continue to collaborate and share with each other. And for us as a district, we've got 11 different schools and over about 450 teachers. So bringing all them together in one space 24 hours a day has allowed them to collaborate even when they can't be physically present with each other, which has really opened up a lot of great conversations.
I love that because it also models what we want students to be able to do, right? Learn anytime, anywhere, and great way to help teachers wrap their mind around what the potential is. Wonderful. I see that Stacy, it was responded on Twitter, so that's fabulous. My multitaskers here are great. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'll add just a couple of thoughts, Michelle. Regarding the professional development during the school year, it's very difficult not only to find the resources, the financial resources, to send teachers away for training. We also know that for that to make an impact on more than just that teacher and their students, you've got to devote time for them to share and have dialogue and collaborate with other teachers in the building. And that process in general is not as efficient as we'd like it to be. And so when we can engage teachers in some virtual professional development, when we can find creative ways for them to have dialogue and collaboration with experts away from Paoli, we certainly try to do that. Whether it's through the Indiana Department of e-learning or through other professional development resources that we've been able to identify that have been effective. In addition to that, we've got teachers that from the beginning through the end of summer, as most school corporations do, are dedicated to mastering their craft, and certain aspects of what they do can then be shared with other staff when they get back into the buildings in the fall. We try to, what I would call plate scrape, try to remove those tasks and responsibilities from our teaching staff that are not essential and that are not impactful to student learning, to free up some of that time before and after school, during prep periods, shared prep periods, professional learning groups. And so it does take a lot of collaboration, communication, patience on behalf of everyone involved, but we've got to work smarter, and in the end we've got to focus our energy on those things that will help develop teacher skill, and then most importantly make an impact on student learning.
Great. I'm going to remember that scraping the plate metaphor there. That's excellent. Okay, so I am going to, we haven't had any other questions come up, but I want to go ahead and get to one of our last questions, which I think is probably an important one. It might be the unasked question. If you were approached for advice from a district that was in the early stages of transitioning to digital learning, or wanting to be future ready, what would you share with them?
Go out and talk to your community. Really listen to what your students' needs are, listen to what your industrial needs are, and then start spreading out from there. Because you're going to see those transitions taking place inside the workplace that our schools haven't always made those jumps away from tradition. And so it's really important that we start listening to all those voices of all those stakeholders and really preparing kids for the future, not for our past.
I love that.
I'll add to that once you feel like you've identified those things locally, identified needs of students, identified needs of staff, you then have to branch out, and whether it's taking part in an event like this to hear some perspectives from some people who have already begun to implement one-to-one, or otherwise are seeing success, you've got to visit, again, whether it's virtually or in person, and see how those things look and how it sounds. Talk to people who have made wrong turns and had to sort of steer back on track. You've got to get out and identify those strategies that have been effective elsewhere. If you start with what kind of device are we going to use, you're asking the wrong questions.
Bonus points. Okay, I know I've got other great experts here. Who would like to add on to this list?
I think for me, I would say don't expect to get everything right the first time. You know, success doesn't always have to be everything going perfectly, and so you learn a lot from those things, those bumps in the road, the obstacles, the failures. And so you have to make sure that you're communicating with staff and parents and students to say we expect some bumps in the road, we expect some obstacles, and that's just fine. We're going to learn how to overcome those. And actually from those challenges, you can end up someplace even better that you didn't necessarily expect. And so go into it knowing that it's not just going to be a smooth road, and that's okay.
Excellent. Yeah, give yourself a little bit of grace space there. Yeah, like that. We do have another question from Twitter, from INELearn hashtag, and I just want to also mention that for those of you who are watching, if you want to connect with these leaders here in the group, and one of the people on the hashtag said, you know, so many great ideas. A lot of them are tweeting. If they haven't already sent out something recently about today's Geek Out, I'm sure they will now. And you can follow them and start looking at the hashtags, because they also have district hashtags, and watch their learning and their sharing. This specific question says, what has been the biggest challenge in changing to a digital learning culture? You get a gold star if you go first. And my undying appreciation. Bill?
I'll help you out.
Thank you, Dad.
I think the biggest shift is just getting people to get out of their comfort zones and make that first try. And I think sometimes that's really threatening. And it's not threatening, I think, to the groups we sometimes assume that it will be. I think the automatic assumption is that our older teachers are going to struggle the most with this shift. But I think what I've found in my experience is it's that teacher that's about 10 years out of school that's just gotten into a rhythm, and they're looking forward to doing things that they've done, you know, for the first part of their career through retirement. And it's a real threat that this new system, this new way of thinking has been launched. But they all are consistent in their care about their kids and the desire to really make sure that we're providing for their needs. So I think if you can demonstrate to them that it's critical that we do this for their future, that the world of work that they're going to face is going to look so much differently than the world of work that we've seen in our lifetime, I think they're more willing to make that shift.
You could have just saved a lot of people some frustration with denouncing that stereotype, because it really is about a mindset. It's not about a person per se, or a specific category of educator. So glad you brought that up. Any other big challenges you've faced?
I'll chime in here. The level of communication, while many of us and most effective leaders would identify themselves as effective communicators, there is no level of communication when you begin to head down a path that is new for everyone involved. There's no level of communication that would be enough, and which, thank goodness, for Facebook, social media in general, digital newsletters, email, automated calls, face-to-face meetings. You've got to get that communication out to all stakeholders. You've got to do it early. You have to do it often. And just when you think you've covered all bases, someone's going to ask a question that has not yet been answered, or it hasn't been answered enough times or in enough ways. And we can't put the responsibility on stakeholders to just know the information. It's important enough, and it's important enough to have the buy-in of all involved, that we just have to hammer home as often as we can all of the information that we know is essential for buy-in and support of stakeholders.
Great consideration to take into planning, because you can't over-communicate. Definitely is going to be clear. Washington Township.
I think another problem that I'm sure we all face is, and as soon as you asked that question, my assistant soup whispered, money and time, money and time. And, you know, we all face that problem of where are we going to prioritize our funds and where are we going to prioritize our time with our teachers for professional development, for implementation. So looking at what are our high impact, high leverage strategies and how are we going to allocate funds and then professional development and time to ensure that those are implemented well. I also, as director of curriculum, think about fidelity and vetting curriculum, and so I know we all mentioned great ways in which we are borrowing and stealing and curating curriculum, but at the end of the day, who's vetting that? Who's ensuring that that is high quality materials that our teachers are using and not just something cute from Pinterest that teachers want to use, but what's the quality control in all of the curriculum curating?
Good answer. I think it's the message you're getting from your team there. Okay, great. I'm not going to focus on the Pinterest fashion, just let you know that we are still doing implementation. But you're right. I think no matter what, we go back to that filter, knowing what is important, what is relevant. Then I like what you said, especially as from the position of the director of curriculum. You do need to be vetting things, and eventually you want to be able to have your teachers prepared to do that for materials as well. So lots of things to take into consideration. Everything that you've been discussing, I think everything is related. I'm going to quickly scan to make sure I'm not missing any questions because we had a few more tweets come out, but it looks like they're mostly been comments, which is great. So I am going to say that I hope everyone in our viewing audience is able to come back next Friday during Digital Learning Day, where we run a full marathon of Geekouts, starting with this very topic, Future Ready Schools. And some of our panelists here today will be back with students. We'll definitely address the question that came up earlier about how do you help students buy into this, especially if it's not important in their families, and it's not something that they have done. I think you guys as a panel today have really talked about the importance of bringing everybody on board. And while you may not have 100% buy-in in the community with all stakeholders, you definitely work to create that culture from the very beginning. Let me see, what did I want to make sure I added? If you need to see the schedule for next Friday, visit our website, doe.in.gov/elearning. It is under the Indiana Loves Digital Learning tab. You can also follow us on Twitter @INELearn. We'll be tweeting out links and more information about all of those things. Thank you so much to our panelists for checking in across the state and around the world. You guys are wonderful. We were so proud to have 8 superintendents from Indiana represented in Washington, D.C. last November. Can't tell you how impressive it was to know that we have that leverage in our state. Teachers and educators, communities focused on improving opportunities for our students. So thank you all.
Thank you, Michelle.
Any last thoughts anyone wants to leave the group with before we close the Geek Out?
I'll just add that we will have some excited students taking part next week, and if there's anyone that watched and listened to this event that thought it was productive, I don't think it compares to what we will experience next week when you hear it from the mouths of students.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? So housekeeping is coming in my room because they didn't see the sign, and I am going to say, great having you all here. Have a wonderful week. See you on Digital Learning Day. Bye.
Thank you.